Human rights are a legal principle that recognizes and respects the dignity of all people, despite their religion, background, and heritage. Enforced by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, these principles have been incorporated in various legal frameworks around the world, aimed to make a society a safer place. Human trafficking refers to the process in which an individual is forcefully placed in an exploitative situation for economic gain, sexual exploitation, the extraction of organs, and various other inhumane reasons. As an extreme act of belligerence, the worldwide offence human trafficking requires international collaboration to be controlled. Every year, millions of people are caged of their human rights, falling victims of human trafficking. As an extreme act of hostility, this worldwide offence opposes 11 of the United Nations Declarations of Human Rights. Made in 1948, these acts were established to prevent individuals from being abused in an inhumane manner. Yet, an estimated 40 million people fell victims of this crime in 2019. The United Nations Office of Drugs and Crimes have noticed the extent at which human trafficking violates their human rights, so they offer a program to vulnerable states where past victims share their expertise, helping others devise strategies and protocols to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking persons. Furthermore, the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crimes assists with funding for critical resources, drafting laws, anti-trafficking strategies, and the invaluable specialized expertise to help minimize human trafficking across the world. Human trafficking contradicts the following United Nations Office of Drugs and Crimes. These Universal Declaration of Human Rights present a framework on how to live everyday life. This indicates the importance that these values are enforced to ensure that they are upheld. Prohibited under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the right to freedom of movement was made to allow any individual to travel where they please despite their religion, background, and heritage. As a direct violation of this right, human trafficking forces a person to enter an exploitative situation, rendering them unable to travel as they please. Men, women, and children from all around the world have experienced dire circumstances that has forced them to become victims to human trafficking. Using deception, human traffickers are motivated by poverty, natural disasters, profit, cheap labour, war/conflict, cultural practices, and an opportunity of a more prestige life. Using push-pull factors to their advantage, traditionally they would target women for sexual exploitation. Nowadays, the legal definition recognizes that anyone of any gender, race, or age can be trafficked. A key term used to describe these events are root causes. This refers to the process in which circumstances occur, allowing human trafficking to flourish. Subjective to dehumanization, the poor are usually vulnerable to human trafficking due to false hope of a better life. A similar circumstance is shown with people migrating due to war and conflict. Subjective to push movements, these people are more likely to make dangerous migration decisions, making them more susceptible to being trafficked. In accordance with Mr. Fedotov, the Executive Director of the United Nations of Drugs and Crimes, there is a direct link between human trafficking and armed groups of people. This is due to their aggression towards sexual exploitation, forced marriages, sexual slavery, and enthusiasm to force people to partake in competence. Possibly psychologically unstable, it is evident that human trafficking requires international collaboration to be controlled. The United Nations of Drugs and Crimes align with these values, offering state strategies to help end human trafficking across the world. Possibly psychologically ill, every day thousands of people initiate the malicious act of human trafficking. As a multi-billion-dollar corporation, traffickers enter this lifestyle in the hopes to enhance their financial status. Mostly uneducated, these individuals partake in this extreme act of belligerence because of poverty, lack of education, demand for sex, unfair human rights, lack of job and career opportunities, cultural practices, conflict, profit, and lack of migration opportunities. This act of belligerence signifies the importance that all countries with the common goal come together to establish laws and guidelines that will discourage trafficking in persons across the world. Research conducted by the PMC, a National Institution of Health based in the United Kingdom, has shown that survivors of human trafficking are subject to the after effects of mental illness. In England, the statistics show that approximately 60% of survivors either experience depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Psychologically scarred for life, these individuals have undertaken extreme circumstances that has forced them to become trafficked, indicating the importance that we need international cooperation to discourage this violation around the world. Ignoring the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, The extreme act of belligerence human trafficking trade has been forced upon men, women, and children in parts of our world today. Opposing 11 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the United Nations of Drugs and Crimes distribute supporting programs helping states prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons. Established to recognize and respect the dignity of all people, human rights present a framework on how to live a civilized life. Yet an estimated 40 million men, women, and children became victims to this extreme act of hostility in 2019. Possibly psychologically unstable, every day thousands of its antagonists initiate the malicious act of human trafficking in the hope to enhance their prestige and wealth. Exhibiting extreme acts of violence, it is evident that this extreme act of belligerence requires international collaboration to be controlled.